At a very young age, I remember peering through a slit in the door and vividly seeing my mother on her hands and knees with her hands clapped together and praying. An indomitable spirit committed to making sure that she provided a better life for her children. One thing she said, and I remember this, that she didn't give us a whole lot because we were poor, but she said, "I gave you a good name." And to me, that's integrity, and that's a hallmark to my ministry and pastoring, to be a man of integrity.
Pastor Beaman came to Bethel in 1993. He has exhibited leadership that's beyond reproach. He's a man of integrity, and his goals and aspirations at Bethel has been to lead the congregation and to win souls for Christ, and that he has done.
Well, Pastor Beaman is a very shrewd pastor. He's out there. He wants to find out for himself. And it's hands-on. And I think that's what's so good about him, and I think that's why he works so well in the community.
One of the things that we immediately did was, because I believe the church needs to be more than the building on a corner, we hired a consultant to do a needs assessment of the community where the church is physically located.
And for me, having begun working in HIV ministry in Bermuda, I wanted to see what the statistics were in the area that we were going to be located here in Wilmington. And I was amazed at how high the statistics of HIV was right around the circumference of the church.
But I discovered that the people who were identified HIV were being kicked to the curb. And again, that ran against my grain, where Jesus had this capacity to love the untouchable and heal them. And so I felt that the church's role should be one of healing.
Renee and Silvester Beaman are known and honored as a couple here. Their understanding of how the HIV/AIDS epidemic was unfolding, the importance of confidential screening and access to care, and the very real challenge they made to a long-established and very prominent church in our community was a great example of ministry by a couple who took their combination of health and faith training and applied it in a concrete and lasting and effective way.
And this is something that Pastor Beaman and Renee have taken on in an incredible way. And it's one thing for them to talk about it, which they do, but it's another thing for them to live it and for them to actually be engaged in trying to help people. And they have done an incredible job. Beautiful Gate, which is the HIV outreach center that's located literally in the same building as the church, probably the best known AIDS outreach center in the entire state of Delaware.
Beautiful Gate Outreach Center. If you know that story out of the book of Acts, the lame man was sick and crippled, but he had been relegated to the side of the road. But the two disciples saw him there and offered him Christ and lifted him up and restored him in his dignity, and he was healed.
One thing about me being affected with HIV and AIDS is that it's not a death sentence. When I was first diagnosed, I figured nobody wanted to deal with me. But when I started going to the Church of Bethel, Reverend Beaman was very supportive, and I got also connected with Beautiful Gate. I started getting connected with their support groups.
I wanted those who are living with HIV to know that they had a house of faith that they could come to and not feel that they were going to be discriminated against. And that really changed the city because there wasn't another church that was doing that when we started. That helped people to realize that we could use faith to fight HIV. We can help change lives.
They do show love and compassion. That's one thing I can say about. They encourage me. They uplift me. And it's just, you know, I just love them to death.
You hear a lot of kids growing up and they would say, well, who's your role model? Who you want to be like? With me, and I bet my sister could definitely agree, we say our parents because they have made such a difference in so many people's lives.
My father has been doing so much politically and so much for the AME church. And that makes me proud because he's not letting anyone or anything come in the way of him doing what God wants him to do.
What I can say about Pastor Beaman is that he is a man that's rooted in his faith. He has high integrity. He's a guy that when he says something, you can believe and expect it to happen.
He has developed very, very good working relationships with some of our senatorial delegations and the governor here in the state and, of course, Vice President Biden. So really, even though they're local relationships in some sense, I mean, the national impact and international impact of those relationships really can be leveraged in all kinds of ways, from Africa or from, you know, the stateside.
You know, if Pastor Beaman were to win, and I hope he does, it would be really, frankly, somewhat bittersweet for us in Delaware. He obviously would not be here nearly as often, and that would be a loss. I mean, there's no question that would be a loss. But the gain to the church at large around the world would be incredible.
I would hate to see Pastor Beaman go, but I know that to really love someone, to care for them, means recognizing when they've got the capability to make a bigger difference on a broader stage.
And I'm glad that my husband is a leader. He is the wind beneath my wings that encouraged me to continue to do this work.
I'm a Beaman believer.
I'm a Beaman believer.
I'm a Beaman believer.
All right.